What's better, learning a few languages at a really high level or learning a lot of languages conversationally? This is one of the biggest debates in the online language learning community, especially on YouTube. On one hand, you get people who learn a lot of languages, sometimes many languages at the same time. Some of them are street polyglots. They just walk around approaching native speakers in public places and talk to them in their languages and record it. They get some viral videos out of it. White guy shocks locals speaking fluent English in London. That kind of stuff. And on the other side of the spectrum, you get people who specialize in a few languages, sometimes one language, and they learn one or a few languages really well, reaching a C1 or even C2 level. These are two completely different demographics, completely different types of people with different goals and different personalities. And usually criticism only goes one way. The so-called experts attacking the people in the first group, the people who speak a lot of languages and have conversations in lots of languages. You get a lot of these people, those fake polyglots. They just learned a few lines, they don't really speak the language. I, on the other hand, have deep knowledge of the language. I have a C2 level in this and that, and a C1 in this other language. And you can immediately notice two things. First, they always seem to come from a place of resentment and bitterness. And the second and even more noticeable thing is that these people, a lot of these people, make massive amounts of pointless videos in English every week, but never make any videos in those languages they claim to have a deep knowledge and a C1 or C2 or whatever level at. They never make any videos in those languages. You know why? Because their real level is really not that high. Of course, not everyone who speaks in one language or a couple of languages is like this. There are lots and lots of people who learned one or two languages at a really high level just to be able to use them professionally, for example. Or because they moved to the country and they want to integrate. They want to pretty much become locals. So basically, both approaches have pros and cons. And in this video, I'm going to explain them. I'll give you my personal opinion and also some advice on how to choose the languages you learn and how to allocate your time, because time is valuable and limited. So first, let's talk about learning a few languages to a really high level. Why should you do this? What are the advantages of doing this? Well, the main thing here is that if you get to a really high level in a language, let's say a C1 level or even C2 level, that will help you professionally, of course. If you're not a native speaker of English, getting a really high level of English is something that you should definitely do. It will open a lot of doors, you'll get lots of new opportunities, and in general, it's going to make your life, your professional life, but also your personal life, much better and richer. And the same can be said about other languages. If you learn French to a really high level, or German, or Russian, or any other of the main languages that are spoken by hundreds of millions of people, that is going to be a big advantage for you. You'll actually be able to use those languages professionally. You're going to be able to use it in your personal life much more, build deeper relationships, have longer conversations, consume complex content in the language, and that way learn about the culture and the country a lot more by consuming authentic content in the language by native speakers for native speakers. You know what's going on in the country, what people are thinking about, what they're talking about, and that is quite important. You'll be able to read books in the language, you'll be able to have complex discussions, you'll be able to participate fully in the culture. And there's also another advantage. Once you get to a high level in a language, maintaining the language is way easier because you can maintain it by simply having conversations and being exposed to interesting content. This is, for example, what I do for French, Italian, German, and Portuguese. I do not study them anymore. I just read books, listen to interesting podcasts, and talk to people because I can. But if I wasn't able to understand interesting books and podcasts, I wouldn't be able to maintain these languages this way. So I have to then work on them. So getting to a really high level has some advantages. It actually makes it easier to keep improving and maintaining the languages. And of course, if you want to work with native speakers, speaking the language not only fluently but at a really high level will be extremely useful. So yes, learning one or two or a few languages to a really high level is extremely useful and you will get a lot out of it, both professionally and personally. Now, why then learn languages to a basic conversational level? Well, because Some people, including myself, like to travel, meet people, talk to strangers, and have fun. And to be able to have fun, you don't need a C2 level in the language. If you're able to have a fun 5-minute conversation in the target language when you meet native speakers, especially if they don't expect strangers to know the native language, that is fun. Also, if you travel a lot, it's really useful to know a few hundred phrases in the language. You might not be able to read books in the language yet, but you're able to communicate effectively, and that's already really useful. Your traveling is going to be more fun and much easier this way. And also, it's much easier to build connections with people if you talk to them in their language. Even if it's a little bit. It shows respect and interest in their culture, especially with native speakers of languages that very few people try to learn. I know this really well because very few people try to learn my native language. So it's always fun. The reality of it is you don't need native level fluency for almost any situation. If you can communicate effectively, you've learned language islands, you know the right lines for that specific situation, you'll be able to communicate effectively. That's it. The time and effort you need to go from a B2 level, which is already pretty good, to a C2 level, you could use it to learn several new languages from scratch and get to a level where you can use them and enjoy using them. So yeah. If you're extroverted and you like to talk to people, you like to have fun, you like variety, you like traveling, you like different cultures, you're interested in languages and you want to learn a little bit about many different languages, this is also a good option. Anyone who tells you shouldn't do it, they're idiots, they probably don't have much of a social life, they haven't traveled much, and they're just plain wrong. These things are subjective, and if you're going to enjoy it more, then learn a lot of languages. That said, there are some problems with both approaches, really. If you try to learn lots of different languages, you can end up jumping from language to language without really learning any of them to a level where you can use them. This happens all the time. On the other hand, if you're interested in learning several languages, but you want to wait until you know the current language you're learning well enough and you're a perfectionist and you keep learning it, then you might end up not even starting other languages that you're interested in simply because you think that your current level is not good enough, when in fact it's more than enough. And this happens a lot as well. So you need the right balance. You need to do what works for you. You need to do what best adjusts to your own objectives. What do you want to do with the languages? Because here's the truth that the losers telling you that you can't learn lots of different languages won't tell you. You can learn some languages to a really high level, and you can learn other languages to a level where you can use them conversationally. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both. I have passed C1 tests in 3 different languages, and a C2 test as well. And I could pass C1 tests in 3 or 4 more languages with some preparation if I wanted to. I just don't see the point. I also know a lot of people who've passed B2 and even C1 exams in English and can't really have a 5-minute conversation. Language levels don't really matter much in the real world. They're just there to put them on your CV. That's it. So this is my advice. If you're interested in several languages, set different goals for different languages, depending on what you actually want to do with those languages in real life. For some languages, you'll have to spend thousands of hours learning to get to a really high level, if that's what you want to do. With others, you just need to be conversational, and both are okay. You don't need to get to a C2 level to say that you speak the language. What I recommend is to prioritize your time and to spend most of it learning the languages that are most important to you. And at the same time, maintain the other ones at a conversational level. So you still get to enjoy using them in real life when you have the opportunity. Base your learning on your goals, not on what some YouTuber is saying. And by the way, if you want to learn languages faster, and you want to get conversational quickly, check out my app. The links are in the description.